Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting Vobes show. It is Wednesday, the 17th of October, 2018, and we are live. And I should say we're live on Facebook because if you're watching on YouTube, it is a repeat. Don't try and say hello to me. I'm not there. It is a rerun, but people do that thinking it's live on YouTube. It's live on Facebook, so it's live now. And if you're watching it elsewhere, then I'm sorry, but we've gone down the pub.
Having a lovely drink.
Hopefully having a lovely drink and not strangling each other. Now, I should introduce tonight's guest. He's been here before, the lovely Jonathan Beluzic.
Good evening, Richard.
Here he is, artist and art appreciation person. Appreciator, I suppose. Art.
I think so. I've got an art degree, so...
There we go. He knows what he's talking about.
Allegedly.
He's got an art degree. I haven't. We're going to be talking about a little bit about art. Let's make sure that there's an audience out there. Anne Osborne has turned up. The lovely Julia is there. Steve Blakey, Fiona Cooper. Jonathan Beluzic is actually out there.
I am.
Yes.
I know.
You've got your machine, so
I've got my machine here.
See the comments, which will be great. Kevin Hall, Ian Beddoes, Dean Cooper, Gian Hartley says, gather round. It's startling. Yes, it will be startling tonight, I can tell you. We're going to have an interesting show. The last time that Jonathan was on the show, we got a heated argument about art at the end.
I'd say debate.
Yes, heated debate. In the old-fashioned way of argument. We were arguing for our sides, and I'm surprised to say that Jonathan said, "Here, let's continue that argument. Let's have that debate."
I thought it was a little seed that needed to grow.
Yes, and I think that is the nature of tonight's show. Let me just go through some. Good evening. Fiona Cooper, good evening. Andy Dalgleish, Robert Crozier, good evening. Richard Suggett is here.
Hello,
boo, he says. Boo!
He does say boo.
Does it? Yes, he says boo, 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 boo. Here's boo, boo. So that would be great. Now, we are going to get your comments in tonight's show, but forgive me if I get embroiled in some of the arguments, a debate about this interesting...
Always a debate.
Yes, always
Artists
a debate.
Don't argue.
Well, that's true. I don't know whether I class myself as an artist or not. I am just a performer of many things. Shirley Ward, that's Wendy Wakelin, Kushti Phil and Pam Earnshaw have also joined us. You're all very welcome.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much. So, now, before we move on, I'm just waiting for this to settle itself down so that I don't have to keep scrolling. It should just do it automatic. Cynthia Walder is here as well. Had some interesting stuff. First of all, I had this delightful card in the post, ladies and gentlemen. I just need to go to my other screen here so I can show you this delightful card. Where are you? Bing! There it is. I'm just going to come back a bit so you can appreciate the warmth of it. We've got a squash in there, some candles. Very autumnal, isn't it? And it says on here, "Hi Richard, on Friday I went to Chichester for the history book sale at the cathedral. 5,000 books. You'd been in your element. You'd be in heaven. Not least at the prices, 50p a pound and £2 in the main. Anyway," she says, I picked up this one up as I thought you might find it interesting." Actually, she sent two. "I was limited in what I could buy by the fact that I had to stagger to the car with them. Take care, from Linda Kane." So, Linda, thank you so much. That's absolutely kind of you.
Very nice.
Two lovely books. I'll tell you what they are because I have them over here and I'm sure you'll be interested in. The first one is by Clive Aslett and is this rather hefty tome, Villages of Britain, with lots of blurb about numerous villages in all sorts of different parts of Britain. So who knows, I'll be hopefully visiting those and use these as a little fact guide. It's quite a heavy book, isn't it?
It's got some weight in it.
It has got some weight. I might have that on my side in case I need to bang you on the head to knock some sense into
I'll
you.
just move this over here.
Oh, right, fair dues. And this one is a book all about Sussex, its customs, curiosities and country law. So it's got some interesting bits and pieces, photographs and various things, games, clubs, friendly societies, grave stories, places I've actually been to. Jacob's Post is one of them. Stamps, cats, canaries, fairy folk. Lovely Julie will be interested in that.
She will.
keep this one over here then. So that was very kind. And then I've got this wonderful letter here. I have to show this side so you don't read the address. And I did make a request on Monday. So I'm wondering if this could be the thing that I made a request for. Let's have a little gander in here.
Well and ever.
And look at that, ladies and gentlemen. Let's have a little focus in on that. As you know, I'm asking for all our Christmas, to get our Christmas stuff out the way nice and early. And this is a Christmas card. And as you can see, I'm opening it up. It's got a lovely wreath on it. It's to Richard and Julia, wishing you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We want to get all the Christmas cards in before the end of November.
It gets it all done and dusted, doesn't it?
It certainly
Gets it out of
does.
the way.
So let me just bring that back. We want to start the festive season and make it all very nice. And so hence a little bit of magic.
Yes.
Bing! Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Merry
to you,
Christmas.
to one and all.
To one and all. How marvellous is that? So thank you very much, Kevin. That will go on the wall. You'll notice that it's been cleared of the postcards, and we'll be sticking all the Christmas cards. So do get your Christmas card to me as soon as you can. If you don't know the address, then send me an email, richard@vobes.com, and I will send you my postal address by return. One of these days I'll get a PO box, which will make life a bit easier, and then you send me the card and we'll shove it on the thing. It'd be lovely.
Top plan.
And by the end of November we'll have loads of Christmas cards, and it would be fantastic. I don't want a single Christmas card in December. I want nothing to do with Christmas in December. All in November this year.
Julia says, Christmas before Halloween. I'm off then.
She's gone. Oh dear. Hey ho, not to worry. Right, so let's just get this scrolling back down here. Christmas party, says Glenn Johnson. Now you're talking. Well, it's funny you should mention party, because we do have a little alcoholic beverage to start off the show.
We do.
Jonathan was very kindly brought something in.
Took a little rummage around the local supermarché.
Yes. And what have you got there?
Came up with... There we go. Let's go that way.
There we are.
Sticky toffee pudding ale.
Sticky toffee pudding ale, ladies and gentlemen. Now, if that's not something for Christmas, I don't know what is.
What is?
What is? Who knows? So, Jonathan's going to open that up, and we're going to have a little sample.
Crack this open.
Which will be absolutely brilliant. So there we go. James DeWill says, if we start Christmas now, it'll go on forever. Well, it will, really. Really, it's just about getting the Christmas cards done and dusted as quickly as we can. I'm not really... Since the children have grown up, Christmas has lost its meaning for me, I have to be honest with you. It doesn't really do anything. Now, if you've got children, of course, it's going to be a very special time. I do have children, of course. It's not like they've all suddenly vanished into a puff of logic or anything like that, to quote The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
But, good, sir.
Thank you very much. But, yes, it's sort of pretty meaningless now. Anyway... Getting a lovely aroma from this.
No, it's very sweet, sickly aroma, isn't it?
And the colour, I need to show you. Well, you can see. You can
very
probably
dark.
see. You can probably see without me having to zoom in again. It's like a winter warmer. So, cheers, Jonathan.
Cheers, Richard.
Let's give it a bit of a try. Ooh, that's...
That's got some sweet undertones, hasn't it?
It's got cinnamon in there.
It has.
I can taste cinnamon. What's it supposed to have got in there? Let's have a look. It's got cloves as well, I think. Or there's something in there that's sort of... It is a sort of seasonally, Christmassy...
What was it saying?
Oh, maybe it's the molasses, burnt molasses. That's what I'm getting.
It says, based on the Great British Pudding, full of rich, sticky toffiness.
Yes, I think there's sort of burnt molasses in there, right at the back of the throat.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And it's almost cinnamony. I don't know if it is cinnamon, but it's a sort of cinnamon. Or what's those things you used to put? Cloves. Cloves. I'm getting a sort of cloves. Oh, a couple of those would have done.
It's quite nice, isn't it?
Quite. We thought this was going to be terrible.
Yeah, we really did.
But actually, it's harmless. What's the percentage on that?
It is a reasonable 5%.
5%. And who makes that? It's
Wells.
Wells. Wells, of course, famous for the banana bread beer that they do. It's very nice beer, I have to say. I mean, you can't have too many of those because it's not a session beer, is
Waggle
it?
Dance, I think they do, which is made with honey. I think they do Waggle Dance.
So there we go. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, so Ben Gilliland.
That is my best friend.
Oh, right, okay.
Well, he was my best friend.
He was. It says, Jonathan also has a fruity aroma. Charming, that is.
Thanks, Benjamin.
That's very kind. Malcolm Glazer says, fireworks first, please, but okay, cards if you must. We just want to get the cards out of the way.
Exactly.
Robert Crozier says, real ale, like it, but doesn't like me. Ah, yeah, that's true. James Stewart says, are you musing or pontificating, Richard? Tonight, I will be musing. Thank you for your email about pontification. I try not to pontificate, but you never know. I may come out as a dullard. There's another word to look up, isn't it? We do like that. And we'll just go through a couple more, and then we'll get into our main debate, ladies and gentlemen, which is it art? Is it art? We're going to be...
that is the question.
That is the question. Mark Taylor says, definitely won't be making any cards before December. Ah, well, don't send them to me then, Mark. Don't send them. I want all my cards before the end of November.
Oh, yeah. Get it out of the way.
Maya says, possibly an alcoholic drink that's sweet enough to me to enjoy. Maybe I should give it a go. You should. It's very delicious.
Very delicious.
And Dean says, have you tried Trooper beer, Richard? I haven't.
I saw that in the Supermarché as well. Brewed by Bruce Dickinson of Iron Maiden fame.
Ooh. Years ago, I used to run the Vobes show as a podcast, and on a Friday, my old mate Jimmy and I used to try beers, and we would go through one or two different beers. We did enjoy our beers then. I tend not to drink so much now. It's not that I'm teetotal, but every now and again it's very nice. Trouble is, it goes straight to my head. Steve Pilford says, Vobes seems to have skipped over what is arguably Sussex and parts of Kent's biggest tradition, bonfire, and then gone straight to Christmas. No, don't worry. We'll be looking at bonfires and all that. I just want the cards in for Christmas beforehand, Steve, so don't get all worried. It's amazing. It's amazing how easily people can get riled. I love it.
We're going to be getting riled tonight.
Yeah, they're going to get riled. So let's crack on. Artist fella looks like Billy Bragg. So there we are. A younger version, I hope, of Billy Bragg. He's gone all rosy cheek now, and he knows I'm watching, says Ben. Yeah. So there we go. Yeah. All right.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you for your comments. Keep them coming. We'll try and get to read them. However, we are going to ask you serious questions now. And if you watched the previous show that Jonathan was in, you'll know that I had trouble understanding, conceiving whether some things were art or not.
So there were some issues.
There were some issues
ironing out.
So first of all, Jonathan, before we get on to the we've got a series of pictures to show you and debate. How do you want to run this?
Well, so the idea I had was after you had your little set two.
Yes.
Shall we say?
Yes.
Shall we say?
My explosive.
I thought back. I was having a think about it, and I was like, right, how can we got to tease a bit more artness and sort of art discussion, but also try and make it, very, welcoming and let everyone can take part. So it's not, because art can be very elitist. A lot of people think art is very, very elitist and is just for a certain section of the audience. And I wanted to kind of get everyone involved. And so that's when I read a thing that Marcel Duchamp, him of the urinal fame, for those of you watching at that.
This is the artist who took a urinal out of a skip, wrote his name on it, and shoved it in some exhibition, and has supposedly changed
the face
of modern art in the 1920s.
It was around the 1920s.
It's amazing how I remember those very trivial facts.
Might have been a bit earlier than that. Anyway, he wrote a lecture called The Creative Act, and in it he said, well, I will paraphrase what he said. He said that an artist may shout from the rooftops that they are the greatest, but it is only when the viewer views the art and imbues it with their own thoughts and feelings that can the artist be pushed into the annals of history. So what he's saying is, it's not the artist that decides that they're great, it's the viewer that decides that they're great.
Right. Well, I would agree with that. Absolutely. Yeah. Now, just so you know, I've got a slight technical issue here. I've got things asking me whether I want to be on the screen or not.
Something's going on there.
So it probably... Oh, what's going on? I keep getting...
Says the computer doesn't like art either. That's the problem.
Not logged in. Leave page. If I leave page, the thing is going to...
You're still on my phone. We're still there.
Okay, so you'll have to be in charge of comments.
Okay.
because I'm going to get this issue all the time. So I'm just going to leave it running. And
Okay.
if we fall off, let me know. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen.
No problem.
I've had this before, and I don't quite understand why. But as long as we keep going, but I won't be able to read the comments. So
Yeah.
okay, fair enough. So it's basically you're saying the art is in the eye of the beholder, like beauty is in the eye of the
Yes.
beholder. And so if somebody says, as we talked in the kitchen earlier about this comment, if one person says I'm the greatest artist in the whole world, look at my art, I'm this, that, and the other, whatever. And the rest of the world says, pardon?
You're rubbish.
It's rubbish. And if the consensus is that everybody else said that he was rubbish, then he's rubbish.
Or you could look at it like you could. You could also look at it as if you are. You could be an amazing singer. You could, have a voice that can knock Adele to the floor. You could make the most amazing music possible, but if no one buys your records,
right,
then what
Then what merit are you?
Yes, what merit are you exactly, or what?
Yes,
when you are the greatest, but you're getting one person buying an album every other.
You sort of start coming into, and I don't really want to get into this yet, but the question on the top of my hand is then what's the difference between populist, where the majority of people like something, and then elitist, where they say, well, that stuff's not art because everybody likes it, and the
I think it's when art started moving into the conceptual, so it went from the figurative, so it went from your landscapes and your portraits into small blocks of colour, or a amorphous sculpture that didn't have any, it wasn't visually anything, it was just a shape that art could have been considered quite elitist. And when people going, well, what do you mean you don't know what that means? Well, you clearly don't understand art at all. But that's not what we're sort of getting at here. I've got some pictures to show you.
Yeah.
And
should we crack on with the first picture?
So to set this in, the first picture is our barometer. I would like to say this is the starting level, and is what I believe is a masterpiece.
And here it is.
Michelangelo's David. Absolutely stunning. Stunning. Michelangelo made that in his 20s. It's 5 meters high, made of marble. He did the whole lot with a hammer and a chisel. Tapped away a lot like that. And as a depiction of the human body,
it's flawless.
Flawless. Absolutely flawless. If any of you have the time and you can go online and look at some closer detail, you can see the ribs underneath the skin. There are veins on the back of his hands. You've got the creases of the skin on his feet. It's just a beautiful, beautiful sculpture.
So you say it's just to put that into perspective. It's 15 feet roughly, something like that.
About that, yes. It's
the human body, and he was 26 when he
started carving it,
and it was about 3 years to create it.
Yeah, all with a
hammer and chisel,
knocking away.
And I guess he didn't have a time to finish it in. It wasn't like he'd got to get it done in 3 months.
Not as possibly. Some things I'm not
it was
entirely
commissioned
sure
to
yes,
make.
It was commissioned to line a roadway with lots of other statues. Initially, the first guy to do it got chucked off the job, as it were, and the marble sort of lay half made for a number of years. Leonardo da Vinci was consulted about whether he wanted to take up the reins, and in the end, it was Michelangelo. Went, give us a go, I'll do it. And he produced something that still stands up today as possibly the greatest depiction of the human form.
So, your question is then what? Is that art, or what?
Is that art?
Is that art?
I say, 100%.
Yes. I mean, I have no problem with saying that art. It
Absolutely.
might not necessarily be to my taste, a naked man. But you can, to me, it's art. And the reasons are, A, it took some time. It took some skill. He was clearly talented. He may have copied a real person, for all I know. He must have done. He must have had references, but then most artists would have references. And wouldn't just dream it out of his head.
I think it's the scale of it as well, because we as people know exactly what bodies look like. So when a body is when an image is created that is out of shape, whether the legs be too long, the hands be too big, the head be too small. We know instantly that there is something wrong with the figure, with the shape of the figure, and there is nothing wrong with that at all.
Right.
Nothing wrong with it. It's stunning.
And of course, I mean, if there was anything wrong, he presumably would have corrected it anyway.
Quite possibly. I mean,
do we know
God
if
knows
he'd
how.
been knocking out the human form before?
that I don't know. That's something I'd have to go back on.
As he started in his, as a 5-year-old and actually had been doing it for 20 years, which does, I'm not, whether he had or hadn't.
I mean, if he did that in his 20s, the man was a genius.
Yes,
a genius.
So
skilled.
I have no problem with saying that's art, because clearly it is. I mean, I don't think anybody would have a question whether it's to their taste.
Exactly. I mean, there is that, obviously. It's a nude figure. Some people might not like that. That's fine. But
you're not necessarily saying that's going to be in your room, or that you've got to see it in your office, or that it's something you go. But it wasn't originally designed to be in a museum, was it?
Oh no,
or in an art gallery?
Not at all. Not at all. It was. I think it was designed to stand outside, and then the powers that be back then thought, well, the marble could obviously deteriorate. It is so stunning that the marble would obviously eventually, the weather would gradually erode it, so that it was moved inside.
What are the comments?
The comments is, what have we got here? Let's have.
I'm sorry, I can't see the comments. It's some technical issue, but if I restart the thing, I'm going to lose it.
What does James Will say? But David is a technical masterpiece, as it's an anatomy study from the perspective of an average man standing at ground level. That's very true. Ben Gilliland. John, you're getting more landscape and amorphous. Thank you, Ben. James DeWill says, were Impressionists great artists, or did they need glasses? Yeah, that's true.
Were Impressionists great artists? Was he an Impressionist?
Michelangelo, absolutely not.
No.
No, good Lord, no. But we can now move on to someone who could be alluded to be Impressionist.
So I'm struggling here, but I am getting some of the comments. Mark English says, art is in the eyes of the beholder. There you go, debate over.
There we go. So been a pleasure. I'll be off.
Thanks very much for coming in. No problem at all. I guess that is a very good comment, though. As Mark said, if it's in the eyes of the beholder, which is the truth at the end of the day, is when you come to sell bits of art, it's down to who wants to pay the money that people are asking.
I mean that's
a whole different. Is that a different slant of it?
I mean, there is actually a there is a piece of art that we're going to see where price was very much an important factor in its success or failure, depending on how you look at it.
Julia apparently wants to have this in her garden. Is she allowed to have it? Is it expensive? Can we buy it?
Might be a bit heavy.
Are there copies of it? Presumably.
Oh, absolutely. You'll be able to get a
3D model. Definitely. Has it been scanned and that sort of thing?
I think it has been scanned. I think you can get that. They will be faithful reproductions, I'm sure.
Okay.
Of many good garden centres.
So I think we're all agreed that is very artistic.
Yes.
It was labour intensive. You needed skill. You needed talent. You need to know how the tools operated. You needed the time. You needed perhaps to be paid to make it, or you could have done it in your in his own spare time. It was quite expensive with the amount of marble and what have you. But I think I can't imagine anyone would turn around and say that isn't art.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
I mean, regardless of the subject, it being a human body, just the fact that it is a faithful representation of something, albeit slightly out of scale, a giant, but that was the purpose of it, to be seen on the landscape. So, I have no argument with that.
There we go.
Doesn't mean to say I would want it myself, but, the lovely Julia does, so of course I'll have to go and buy it for her as, faithful friend and co-host of the show. Julia gets her way.
Oh, Steve Pilfeld says Martin Snow knocks them out on his printer.
And that's true. There we are. If you want to buy them, have a word with Martin Snow. He's got his 3D printer. He'll do them any colour you like. Even
tenner for 3.
Even purple.
Buy 4 for 12.
So there you go. Now, we've got another piece of art coming up. This is the second one.
Yes.
Shall I show it now?
Go for it.
Oh, you finished that off. Do I not get a little bit? No. Shush. All right. That's the way the show is going, is it? Right. So this is the second one.
Yeah.
What is this?
That is the Demoiselles d'Avignon, the Ladies of Avignon, by Picasso.
The Ladies of Avignon.
Demoiselles d'Avignon.
They were not particularly attractive ladies.
They might very well have been attractive ladies.
Well, he hasn't depicted them as particularly attractive.
No, he hasn't.
Certainly not the way I visualise.
Exactly. This is very much not a figurative piece of art. This is considered by many sort of arts historians
as utter rubbish,
as one of the most important paintings of the 20th century.
One of the most important. You've used the word important.
If not, because what Picasso did, amongst many, I mean, Picasso also was an incredibly talented artist who dabbled in watercolors, in acrylics, in oils, in ceramics, in sculpture, but he never hung around. He never stayed very long doing one thing. He would do it. He would push it as far as he believed he could. He'd move on to the next thing.
And was he good at all those other things?
Absolutely. This is the thing, absolutely. And
okay.
This currently hangs, if you want to go to New York, it currently hangs in the Museum of Modern Art in New York. I think it's about 8 foot tall. It's a big old thing.
So merit for managing to paint a canvas 8 foot tall. I mean, even Kevin Hall, I think, who is a painter and decorator,
yes.
he could paint a canvas 8 foot tall.
Oh yeah, with a ladder.
So
or a roller on a pole.
I mean, many people can do that. I mean, I think even at a push, I could manage to paint something 8 foot tall. But you say it's the most important. Why? I don't understand why. Because
this is
they're grotesque, aren't they?
This is considered the first Cubist painting, and Picasso was the artist who, I guess, developed, invented, revolutionised Cubism as an art movement. And what Cubism is, it's where you look at the subject of your painting, whether that be a tree, a bottle and a glass, a person. You break that subject down, view it from every single angle, paint it from every single angle, and then put all of that onto the canvas at the same time in a very fragmented, angular way. And from Cubism, that led to Expressionism, which led to Abstract Expressionism, which led to Futurism. From Expressionism came Expressionism, which obviously are Jackson Pollock's, your very vibrant, colourful, lots of paint, all over the place. From that, as a response to that, came Minimalism, which, very simple, clean lines, small, simple paintings. So what Picasso did was irrevocably change art and the way people painted, the way people looked at things. I mean, it's his footprint is big and
okay. So
planted.
I understand that he. So from what you're saying then is he painted that awful thing, and people have decided, well, he's invented a new way of looking and representing things on a flat surface.
Yes.
Yeah, on a flat surface.
Yes.
And other people have picked that up and run with it. And
he did Cubist sculptures as well.
Okay, fine. That's fine. So I've got no problem with that. So that sort of, like, that particular painting to me comes across as like your rough experiment that he's looked at things differently and he thought, well, if I shove this here and it's a bit of eye there, a bit of nose there.
That painting was certainly not a rough experiment. There is over 300 drawings and smaller paintings and research sketches went into the preparation for that canvas. It was he didn't just go, what I'm going to do? I'm going to just paint 4 women, but like with my eyes closed, and just went and did it of an evening. No,
but what he's come up with is pretty grotesque.
It is, and again, harkening back to Marcel Duchamp and his urinal, it shocked the art world again completely.
Yes. Now, I've got nothing against somebody painting something which is grotesque, because everybody should have the freedom to paint whatever they like, of course. It's whether you can turn around and say, well, I mean, you might turn around and say it's art, but it's whether you want it. And to be honest, I wouldn't want it. And as Richard Suggett says, he wouldn't want that hanging on his wall. James DeWill says, I've managed to get some of these comments. Now, is this Guernica? Guernica is a far more important painting? Was that what they say there?
Guernica is a far more important painting. Got to be said, do not know, Guernica. That'd be something I will have to look up.
Many artists copied Picasso and called Cubism. Says James DeWill here. Another
copied Picasso and called it. Yes, I mean, and artists copy other artists and have done since art was a thing, because you needed your inspiration. So I mean, it's for if you were to sit there and speak to an up and coming artist, and they go, I'm just trying to, and you go, well, what artists are you looking at? What research doing? Oh, I'm just trying to develop my own style. So you use other artists for inspiration.
Well, yeah, but I mean, everybody uses anybody who's gone before you. You're using that as inspiration because you're learning and looking at everybody's style. Nobody is born innate with an ability to create something, because you've got to learn your technique or whatever it is from somewhere. I've got that. Richard Suggett also says, quite frankly, I thought it was a cave painting. And in a way, that's an interesting observation, because it's flattened out people. And although I can understand the theory that you've put about looking at it from all sides and then representing it, but actually the finished product, whether you've gone through that process, it surely is about the finished product, not the process. Because the process, like anything, you could spend 100 years carving out what's his face, the one we saw at the beginning, David. You could spend 100 years or your entire life, but it may and through a weird process of taking this thing all around the world and doing a chip on every dawn when the sun comes at a certain.
But the process is what make that. That's why people say, I could do that. I could just sling up some paint on a canvas. That's no. The process is what makes the artist the artist. The process, the research, the looking at other artists, the experimenting with colours, doing experimental drawings, doing little canvases, of that.
So what you're saying is you cannot look at a piece of art and take it at face value.
Well, no, you would.
Because if you've got to have it all explained to you or know that it's Cubism or anything, then it sort of defeats the whole process.
This is one of the big stumbling blocks that people have. Because
no, I don't think people have stumbling blocks. Artists who like that stuff, they're the ones with the stumbling blocks. The people who go, but that's shit.
Well, I will walk into.
Go, well, that's shit, and it's the other ones going, oh no, you misunderstand. You don't understand. I've done this.
I will walk into a gallery and say something is shit. That's absolutely fine. But like I said, one stumbling block that a lot of people can't get around. So when they walk into a gallery and they see something, they go, don't even know what that is or what that's supposed to represent. It's because if you haven't got the artist in front of you going, well, this is what I painted, this is why I painted it, this is how I painted it, this is my inspiration, and this is what I'm trying to get across.
But does art need that? If art needs that, it can't stand up on its own, can it?
But this is why a lot of galleries, they will have a little plaque on the wall next to said piece of work with a little detail about so you've got a story. You've got a story then on a bit of wall, a narrative that tells you what this is about, and then But then also, isn't it fun going into a gallery and just seeing these things and knowing what? And if you let yourself, if you go in with a closed mind. I'm not going to like this.
No, I don't. No, I think you misunderstand. I don't think people necessarily go in with a closed mind. They want to see something beautiful, something interesting, something life-changing, and what have you. But if you see something like a cave painting, and go, oh, okay, so what's this? And he's just done this from every. Oh, well, all right, good for you, mate.
Picasso, cave paintings. Who knew?
Let's have another look. Let's have a look at the next one.
Before you show the next one.
Yes.
This is my favourite piece of art, and when I first saw it, I hated it. Hated it, detested it.
Okay, hang on, I've got to go and find it. Right, here we go. This is the one?
This is the one.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Have a look at this and see what you think.
That is Equivalent 8 by Carl Andre.
Equivalent
8 by Carl Andre. It was made in 1976.
And what does Equivalent 8?
It is 120 bricks.
Yeah.
6 bricks wide, 10 bricks long, 2 bricks high.
Right.
Isn't it wonderful?
And where was it displayed first of all?
This was displayed in the Tate.
Is this the one that the woman accidentally knocked over and Reed just built it up?
No, not that I know.
All right. Okay.
This has a rich history. It's called Equivalent 8 because it was one of 8 sculptures that Carl Andre made, all different configurations using 120 bricks. So he had exactly that. So and they were all equivalent to each other because they were all made from the same materials and the same number of materials. And his idea was that they would be exhibited all together, so in quite close proximity, allowing the viewer to walk around them. He wanted viewers to sit on them, to walk over them, to climb on them. With a lot of his artworks, he worked with very industrial materials like metal plates, copper sheets.
And when did
stone.
this come out? This one.
This was he made this in about 1974. So
Okay. So a number of people, when they would have seen that, they may well have been living, those people, as they could well be today.
Yeah.
Like I do, in a brick-built house.
Yes.
Which
they suddenly see on the floor of
see, wait a minute,
Hang on
my
a second.
house has got more artistic merit, especially if it's a nice Victorian one, than any house really.
I might be getting off the fence now. FFS, says Glenn Johnson.
There we go. Bricks, ladies and gentlemen. Bricks. And now, is it art?
I think it is, and I shall tell you. So what happened was this is a very brief history of Equivalent 8. Carl Andre made all his equivalent series, put them up for sale. I don't know how much for. They didn't sell. He ran out of.
I'm not surprised.
He ran out of money. He sold the bricks back to the brick factory where he bought them from.
Yeah,
and carried on his merry artistic way. Meanwhile, a couple of years later, the Tate in Britain. This is before Tate Modern and Tate Britain. Before there was 2 and 3, or then Tate. There was just the one Tate. Basically got wind of this piece of artwork and went, that's quite revolutionary and interesting, and I think we'd like to buy it.
We got desperate.
They contact Carl Andre. He goes, I've just sold all the bricks. Goes back to the shop where he bought the bricks from. They close down. He goes to another place, buys 120 different bricks, numbers them all, 120, puts them in a box with instructions on how to build them. In the post, off to the Tate. So the Tate receive the bricks, build the sculpture. There it sits in the Tate Gallery to pretty much no reaction whatsoever.
Yeah.
Then, once upon a time, the Sunday Times, you can find this article, as I've read it, printed an article, Colin Simpson, I think the author's name was, called "The Tate Drops a Costly Brick," where in it he bemoaned the fact that the Tate is spending public money on artworks which they consider to be of importance. Meaning that the Tate at the time received more public money on its own than every single other museum and art gallery in the country put together. And it would take that money and buy art with it.
Or in this case, some old bricks.
Some bricks. And
Which weren't even the original bricks.
And the Tate refused to say how much it spends on the artworks individually, because, and rightly so, they said, if we sat there and published a price list of how much we bought all our art for, every single artist would raise their price and all art would be unaffordable. But, as they say in the game, all publicity is good publicity. And the queue went round the block and down the street for people queuing up at the Tate to see Equivalent 8. It was kicked, it was vandalised, paint was thrown at it. So, in 1976, Equivalent 8 was the most famous piece of modern art in the country.
But that doesn't answer whether it's art. That's just suddenly because an article is set. I mean, it's like banning something on Radio 1. Suddenly, everybody, you ban something on the radio, people would want to desperately see it.
Like Frankie Goes to Hollywood, wasn't it?
Exactly.
Mike Reid refused to play it, went to number 1.
And so, as a result of that, it goes to number 1 because people going, well, if you're going to, what is this terrible, the worst piece of art that you've ever seen? And people will go, I want to see this worst piece of, and of course, I'm sure they were vindicated. Well, where is it? You're standing on it. I'm sorry. I thought that was a plinth.
Unfortunately,
I thought that was to see it.
Unfortunately, obviously, you can't stand on his artwork. He wanted you to stand on the artwork, and the art guy was like, "Are you mad? You can't stand on art."
Elizabeth Houston says the bricks wouldn't work as a building. They're in rows and not staggered. Is that part of the meaning? Discuss. Alex Whitlock says, I had an argument about Richard Long about that pile of poo. It requires Richard a label Long. To access it. If it requires a label to access it, it does not produce a dynamic with the viewer, which is true. Maya says they need colour. The bricks, public money on shite, a pile of bricks.
I know, isn't it wonderful?
Well, why? I mean, you say it's wonderful, but why? I mean, it's public money on those bricks.
It is, yes. And I'm sure that the Tate still probably receive public money to spend on art that they consider to be of significance. And it was I mean, at the time, it was obviously. I mean, 1976. I was only born in 1976, so it was obviously someone. So at the buy, it was obviously revolutionary enough that they went, you know what, that's what we want.
But is it art, though? Really?
I think it totally is art.
You said you hated it. Why did you change your mind?
Because when I first saw it, I thought exactly what everyone else was thinking. What on earth am I looking at? Because I was at college.
Yeah.
And we went to.
But why did you change your mind?
Because I had the reason is I was at college, and the task was go to the Tate. We were given a list of I think 8 pieces of art. We had to go look at them all, do a little sketch, and then choose one of them to write an essay on.
Yeah,
that was it. Equivalent 8 was one of these, and I walked. It was like, turned around, out the door, and all I did for the rest of the day was complain about it to anyone I could possibly meet. Yeah. Have you seen that? Can you honestly believe what they've done? And then I realised that for something that gives me that much of a visceral reaction, I have to write about it. I have to find out why.
So why? But you haven't told me why you've changed your mind.
Because that was, and then I read, and then I read the story. I read about it. I found out about the newspaper report. I found out about Carl Andre, and how he works and his methods of working, and what he wants to achieve by creating his art, and I got it. He wants people to be
okay,
completely immersed in it. So So
you have to hate it to like it. You have to have a visceral reaction.
I think. I mean, quite possibly. Yes.
For me,
yes.
Are we talking about? I need to go to the gallery and get the gallery done because I know the lovely Julia will be prodding me, saying, "Richard, the gallery," and we'll get to see some real art in a minute, made by ordinary, everyday people who have no necessary training, but certainly know how to use a camera, and it's absolutely fantastic. And keep your
mobile phone
a mobile phone, exactly.
Landscape, not
but
portrait,
what I'm getting from you this evening is this: that there's 2 different things. There's something which I think a lot of people will call art, and then there's this other stuff that most people who have an idea of what art is, this doesn't belong to, but those people who are doing all this and going, a pile of bricks, and if I tell you this, I've got this story about it, and it means this, that, and the other. That's a different type of art. That's not the other art.
There's type of art. No, I mean, there's type of arts in the terms that you have sculpture, you have textiles, you have ceramics, you have paintings,
different forms. Different forms of art. But I suppose what I'm getting at is I think there is an art that people will look at and see that somebody has talent, merit, skill, and all of that to produce whatever it is, and go, I couldn't do that. And then there's the other art, like Tracy Emin's bed, or a pile of bricks, or some cave painting. That other people will go.
It's a Picasso. It's not a cave painting. It's a Picasso. It's worth many millions of pounds.
That's just a label. That's a label that you're putting on it. But at the beginning, remember, you said the quote was, "It's what the people think, not the artist."
That's true, but that wasn't me saying it. Marcel Duchamp said.
Yeah,
some people agree with it. Some people don't agree with it.
Okay, well, maybe you don't agree with it now, because now we're saying that a pile of bricks is a pile of bricks. It's no more or less than a pile of bricks. Which means any pile of bricks could be art.
No.
Well, why? I don't see any different. Anyway, let's not get into that because I'm going to go and do. We're going to go and do the gallery, ladies and gentlemen, and then we'll come back and heat up the debate in the last half an hour of the show or something. So you have to do the dance. So, ladies and gentlemen. On the gallery tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we have some true art. So we're going to start with this rather beautiful artistic picture, which is Wendy Wakelin out for a walk. Merry Christmas, by the way. In the woods near my house in Liss this morning with my 2 beasties, Rosie and Jess. And don't they look lovely? And look at the way the artist there has painted that wonderful picture with the track going up, and has put a little wreath in at the top. In fact, I'm just going to I'll take the wreath out just for a moment so that we don't actually spoil the art there. The next one here, ladies and gentlemen, is a unicorn. Steve Pilfold, he's discovered a unicorn high up in Edinburgh, which is very nice. That one clearly aimed at the lovely Julia, which is splendid. Next up, we have Robert Crozier with a Cairn circle at Glastonbury Laces Caves. Now, we've been, Mark English and I have been out to Avebury, as you know, and we've been putting out the videos there. Must get up. These look far more weathered than the stones at Avebury. These do look ancient and old and look like they've been there and unmoved. You can see by all the lichen and all of that. They do look, they seem like they're really ancient. I'd love to go up and see some of those.
They're fab, aren't they?
They are fab. I'd like to go up there and see some of those amazing stone circles. Here, another artistic picture in autumnal form from Matthew Holdsworth.
You're not going to let this go, are you?
A lovely road of limes in the avenue in Banstead. He said this was formerly. I've had a drink, ladies and gentlemen, only half.
It's the toffee.
It is the toffee. It's stuck in my teeth. This was formerly the entrance drive to Nork Park, N-O-R-K Park, a large mansion owned by the Coleman of the Mustard family and demolished after World War II. That was the formal drive up there, which is very artistic in my opinion. Here's another piece of art littering the countryside, which is superb. This is Linda Kane, who's taken the photograph of.
Looks like a house.
It is a house, yeah, and it's a lot of clapboard, as they would say, or weatherboard. HQ of Sussex Wildlife Trust at Woods Mill Nature Reserve, a place that
I went to Woods Mill when I was at school.
There you go, you would have done. I'm sure they do excursions there with the kids. Great place. I must go there. Take the lovely Julia there. Like to get back to a bit of nature stuff. We did Warnham Nature Reserve earlier in the year. This lovely picture here, beautifully artistic, as you can see. Jean Selms says this quirky sign at the White Horse pub in Crostwick in Norfolk. Great place to eat and drink too, she says.
Look at the artistic arrow there.
Now that's beautiful. Isn't that beautiful?
Stunning.
Keep this side going upstream. So keep this side going upstream. Marvellous stuff. Next up, there we are. Very classic image of the tunnel. This is Glenn Johnson, and he's been up there. Actually, we got a video
where... Is that a sunken lane?
It is a sunken lane. Wonderful. It's an old Roman road. And that Roman road is considered, when they built it, as a piece of art, because it was ever so straight. And you can see there the autumnal colours and the greens with the sun coming in. Very artistic, as you can see. Almost as good as Picasso, but not Cubist. And that's Glenn Johnson at Hanukkah on the way up to the windmill. That's looking back as you were coming back from the windmill. Video coming of a trip with the lovely Glenn. Another bit of art on the landscape here.
There's a bit of art on the landscape.
Elizabeth Housden spotted this on the A3 somewhere in Esher. The sculpture conceived the statue as a protest against urban sprawl in the area. Similar horses' heads have been seen countrywide. In fact, the lovely Julia and I spotted one when we were in Tisbury on our way to Glastonbury back in April, I think it was, April-May time. But yeah, there we are. Giant horse's head looking like it's just come down to have a feed.
It does, isn't it?
It is rather striking, and that to me, it's like the rest of the body's invisible, and your mind plays tricks on you a bit there.
I think so.
It's very good. Now you see, I would class
probably bronze. It's probably a cast. I reckon it's a bronze.
Yeah, it may well be, but I would say to me that's a bit of art. But anyway, we'll come on to that. Meanwhile, now this is Andrew Graham. He's had a visit to Maiden Castle, an Iron Age fort near Dorchester, the largest Iron Age fort in Britain, and would have been home, he says, to several hundred people. Yes, there we go. That's just a little cut through some of the defensive mounds and ditches, which of course have silted up over the years and would have been far more striking and probably exposed with the white chalk. He's also got a second picture here. I don't know who the lovely lady there is. He says, but on a wonderfully blusty day like this, it's just myself, and his sister. and there she is blowing off,
very
so
orange.
to speak. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, for us, we've got this very artistic-looking picture here with two.
You're not going to let this go, are you?
I'm not going to let it go. This is the black dog between the Liandi, as she calls it, by the gate. And it's Cynthia Walder, very famous artist, as you know.
She is.
She's very famous.
Photographer.
And it's a lovely... Well, it looks like a photograph, but actually it's painted by... Yeah, it's painted. It's a
That's
mosaic.
Hyper-real.
Mosaic of curtain frames.
Good Lord.
Yeah, a lovely afternoon. Walk up and see the church on top of St Martha's Hill, wherever St Martha's Hill is, but probably in Hampshire, I'm guessing. But beautiful gate there. And actually you can do... what's it called, where you put noughts and crosses on that gate, but not more boxes than you actually need.
I think there are.
But anyway, yes, or you can do the other one, Connect 4. And in fact, somebody's
Connect
already
3.
Connect. Yes,
Connect 3.
Well, you can
and a half.
Well, look, you can. Yes, maybe.
Not really.
Yeah.
It's just 3x4, isn't it?
Well, someone's connected some.
3.
So there we are, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very
fun,
much
isn't
for that. That was all good fun.
It was.
And lovely to see the wonderful art. Very, very artistic.
I think so.
So we've only got 10 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, to rattle through the next two of our art things. Let's just see if I can find the file. Here it is. So our next one, let's go and get a picture of that. Now, this is an interesting one. Before we go there, I just want to just check the comments to see if anyone is making any more comments, if there's anything comes through. Probably the best. I can't.
Was it Elizabeth Housden says, glad you like my picture of the upside down horse taken on a phone at 70 miles an hour.
Wow.
I wasn't driving though.
Every picture could be interpreted as art, as there is human agency between the viewer and the object photographed or videoed, says Alex Whitlock. And that's a good point, actually. So let's have a look at the second to last, penultimate one. Here it is. Tell us something about that.
That is 100 Spaces by Rachel Whitered. Rachel Whitered was the first female artist to win the Turner Prize.
So she has won whatever the Turner Prize is, quite a lot of money.
I think it's about 25,000.
Oh, not a huge amount then.
Pounds, and it's for young artists. I think it's artists under 30 or 40.
Right.
Years old. I mean, Damien Hirst famously won it for his potted sheep and cow in jelly. And...
What are these things? What are they?
Right, those are resin casts of the spaces underneath chairs.
Resin casts of the spaces underneath chairs. The sort of thing that really is not terribly fascinating.
Until you see...
What?
100 spaces. All in the same place at the same time. It's about her. This is about making the invisible visible, making an unusable space usable.
To me, it just looks like the inside of what I imagine an Amazon factory would look like, where they've storehouse, where they've got just some plinths up and
think of them as polo holes.
Polo holes, as in the mint.
As in the mint.
Oh, not the game.
No, that would be silly.
That would be silly. Well, I was thinking, when you said polo holes, I was thinking the game, and they have a club. It's a bit like golf, but they don't have holes because the horses would trip up on them.
Yes, so she cast. She famously cast.
Why 100?
That I don't know.
Why not just one? One would have been.
She did cast one. She cast. I mean, she in her early sort of artistic career, she did a lot of casting. She famously cast an entire house. There was a whole. I
mean, it's clever.
There was a whole street of houses.
An entire house, but
there was a whole street of houses that were being knocked down, and she managed to procure one of them, and she filled the entire inside space with concrete, and then took all of the walls down around it, so you were left with this sort of concrete shape showing the in. So it's the physical space.
Yes.
That's inside.
Yes. Is that really art, or is that just recording something?
Well, she was. I mean, she was looking at looking at space as a tangible object.
Yes.
Because the air's it's all around us. It's here just because it's made up.
But it's
of
not how we
stuff.
perceive the world, is it?
No, but she was perceiving the world in a different way. I think 100 Spaces. I think that's fabulous. I think I mean, I think it's quite a clever idea as well.
Presumably you can walk around them.
Yeah,
you?
you can. I mean, this was 1997, I think.
And do they have to be laid out in that form every time, or can
no,
they be in any form?
I guess, she's got the gallery space in which to display her objects, and decided to display them.
Yeah, so they could
in
could be a
rows and
random. Yeah, that
Absolutely.
could be a random.
She's cut. I mean, she's done a load of box casting, and they do these huge towers of
Yes, I can see that. I mean, I can see that that's interesting to walk around and go, oh, that's interesting. Someone's bothered to do something that not many people would do. But would you class it as art? And does she sell them individually as art things, or is it is all 100 of them a piece? Because you wouldn't be able to put that in your living room, would you?
Oh no, not at all. I mean, but obviously the giant sculptures are not for sale. Although we should take a trip to the sculpture park at Goodwood, because they have some fabulous, and it's a beautiful setting as well, up in the hills near Chichester.
Yes, but you wouldn't put this in Goodwood, would you?
Oh, they have all sorts of things, and all the sculptures in Goodwood. Every one of them's for sale. Every single one.
What, these?
That we see. Well, no, not those.
No.
All the they have huge sculptures in there.
Right. Okay.
You can buy.
But why? What makes that art, other than the fact that she's she's skilled at doing that. It's not something that perhaps everybody would necessarily be able to do, but you could probably watch a YouTube video on how to get the space between a chair and basically presumably you've just got a box. You put the chair in. So it's exactly round the box. There's no spaces.
I don't know what her.
Well, I'm not.
I have been trying to figure out.
I'm just thinking
what
how you would
technique.
cast things. But then, if you class that as art, then surely every person who's ever cast anything is equally an artist, because she's not really done anything different other than she's just gone for a bit of space. But if you're casting anything, you're suddenly an artist. Because are they really very well cast? Are they cast?
Well, they're.
Are they cast? Yes, but are they cast to the nth degree? Has she really, got every line and detail really better than anybody else who could have cast it? That's what I'm saying. Is her casting skill so supreme that makes her the artist of the cast, the caster artist?
What makes her the artist is the process that she went through to.
Yes, it's this process again. But I mean, I might have the process to put this show together, but you wouldn't necessarily call me an artist. But there's a.
Why wouldn't you? You're an auteur. You could well be an artist. You're an auteur. You have your own.
But no one's putting me in the Tate Gallery. And saying, my God, that bloke, he's got a process. He switches on his computer and he gets a few pictures and he has a guest in and he drinks a bit of beer. There's a process to put this thing together and people watch it. But nobody.
They have video art in the Tate Gallery.
Yeah. So, but then anybody who produces a video, if they have video art, anybody who produces that, there will be a process. So why it's just like randomly picking people who do perhaps slightly more peculiar things, but
it's because it's doing the research, it's doing the preparation.
But anybody could do that. I mean, I do research for my videos. Not a lot of research, just to be said, but I do. But some of the Bald Explorer early ones. But you wouldn't go, oh, that Richard Vobes, we've got to give him £25,000 because it's marvellous. We'll show it in the Tate Gallery. It's just a documentary.
But
anybody who works at the BBC.
But if you submitted it and you gave your reasons behind it, then you're as valid as anyone else.
So So in other words, it isn't really what I think a lot of people would define as art, because it's this weird definition of art that you've got, which is these elite people are calling art, and not what the constables of this, who just went out, drew a picture, painted a picture, used their skill, used their eye brain coordination to use a brush, and it would sit on a thing, and people didn't need to have they go, that's the Haywain, isn't it, down the road? Yeah, it's brilliant. Well done, Matt. I really like that. I'd love that on my wall. Nobody's going to go and say, I would like that in my living room.
I bet she sold a fair few of those.
What, 100 of them?
Maybe she may have sold them all, I don't know.
I mean, she could, to me, that's like the sort of thing you'd get in the design museum, where, if they were made out of squishy stuff that you could actually sit on, that would be quite nice. If they were squishy, you could sit on and watch the telly with put your feet up on the other one. That would be quite nice.
So this is why I've chosen works like this, because if I just chosen some paintings, you'd have gone, yep, that's another painting. That's quite good. Next one.
Well, yes,
Because-
but the
because-
question is
because
it
this-
art? I don't think it is. I think it's
By
I
the
think
by
it's
the very
utter rubbish.
fact by the very fact we're having this discussion, by the very fact it's garnering an opinion. Yes, it is.
We got 1 minute.
Yes.
What's this one?
This is the Digmore Tapestry by Grayson Perry.
The what?
The Digmore Tapestry
Digmore.
by Grayson Perry.
I noticed there's some phallic symbols in
There
there.
is. Now, I have the artist's definition himself of what this is all about.
Do we
Pull
need
it up
that?
on my phone? Well, let's find out, shall we?
It looks like a road map.
So, the words of Grayson Perry says, "This work is my reaction after talking to a group of young men from Skelmersdale in Lancashire.
Yeah.
They are the victim of poverty, chaotic parenting, bad role models and disrupted education. They hung around street corners selling weed, riding motorbikes around parks and getting into fights with rival groups. They were at an age when a hormonal need to assert their masculinity was at its freshest. Deprived of acceptable badges of status, jobs, money, education, power and family, they exercised their masculinity in a way that seemed to echo back to the dawn of humanity.
I don't understand what all this masculinity. I don't
They
understand.
defended
Why can't
territory.
he talk in layman's terms?
They defended territory, and that territory was the Digmore Estate, a quadrant of 1970s new town bounded by dual carriageways.
So basically, they were thugs that were
They
a
seemed
gang.
prepared to kill for it. The Digmore Tapestry is a map of the state that they defended. The style was inspired by traditional African fabrics, and the graffiti is taken directly from the boys' environment.
Right.
On seeing it, one of them commented, "It looks like it's been used to wrap up a body."
Yeah, there you go. That's about
is-
right, isn't it?
That's a
So you've got basically it's gang warfare, a gang in his estate, modern estate, and
but it's a
you should say it's on fabrics.
It's a tapestry.
It's a
So
tapestry.
everything there
Yeah.
is fabric, from the graffiti to
Yeah.
the lottery ticket to
Yeah.
the stains.
Yeah.
It's all
woven.
It's all woven.
Okay, so that's the merit to me. That's the bit of merit, the fact that it's all been woven. But what's the point? What's the point? I mean, it just looks a mess and it looks awful. So he's
Well,
gone to a lot of hard work there to produce something.
Because
which
that was his response to speaking to the young men from that estate.
Yes,
that was what he took
Yes.
from their conversation.
So it seems to wrap this up, because I have to wrap it up, and I'm never so sorry.
That's
we can
fine.
come back and do this again.
I know, you said great, isn't it?
But to wrap this up, it does seem to me, and I'm sorry I can't see all your comments, and I do apologise for that, but you're welcome to send them in by email to richard@vobes.com, and we'll read them out in the next show. But it seems
Let's not do that.
it seems to me that at looking at this, that there's a bunch of people who okay, he can sew, clearly he can sew, and he can do a picture. It's just a shame he chose to do a picture that's actually pretty ugly, although he's making a statement, isn't he? I get
He will have hand drawn that would have been hand drawn first, and then his drawings would have been.
yes, and
converted into
I'm
the
not
tapestry.
knocking the fact that I don't like the taste of it. That's entirely up to him, and there's obviously clearly merit in and time consuming. I would say out of all the pieces, apart from David, all of David, that has taken skill, and to me, now it may be artistic to some people. It's not my cup of tea. I wouldn't want it on the wall. It looks, as the kids themselves said, it looks like a body.
Looks like it's been wrapped around a
But
body.
if that's all woven, as you say, and it's all all put together, it's to me, in my mind, it's a shame he didn't do something a bit more beautiful. But that's entirely up to him.
He's done a lot of other tapestries, but I chose.
No, and that's fine. And so, but what I'm saying is, it's got merit. The fact that it all hangs together and it took time, I think, even though it's as ugly as sin, and I wouldn't hang it up on my thing or would want it in any shape or form, I think, that said, it's not my taste, but I can say, yes, that is maybe it's a piece of art because he's got the skill to do it. It's just because you can see he's got all the skills to be able to do everything.
Oh yeah.
And other people haven't. But on the whole, what you've shown me is that there seems to be a bunch of people who are in this elite bubble who somehow have persuaded the rest of the world that these things are art. But actually, I don't think people really think that. They just think, well, whatever. And that those people within that are quite happy to sell this stuff or show it off to each other and pat each other on the back and say how clever they are, when I think the rest of the world is laughing at them and going, okay, well, whatever, don't care, it's not art, don't like it. And I think they're missing out on the great unwashed who know what really art is when they see it. I think that they think they're being ever so clever, And I think what you might call as the little man, who I don't think is a little man. I think the
I didn't
great.
call him a little
no,
man.
not you. I'm just saying one might say.
Yeah.
You know, from their point of view, I think they think that it's like, well, we're clever in that, and you know, aren't we clever? Look, we've got the inside of a bloody chair. You know, it's like, oh right, or an unmade bed, or a pile of bricks. It's like, yeah, we're going to call it art, and
But they create amazing reactions, though, don't they? That's, I mean, it's the whole point behind it. It creates
but the amazing
fabulous...
but the amazing reaction is because it's not art, and they're pretending it is. That's what the amazing reaction is. Just as you could do that, the same as having a television program, and you go, next on BBC One, a blank screen for 30 minutes. You'd go, well, where's the program? You go, oh, but that is the program, and you go, well, it isn't a program because we have.
There's a radio station that plays only birdsong. Is that a radio station? It does. It's called Birdsong FM.
Yeah, well, that's okay, isn't it? Because
Why? It's not. It's just playing birds tweeting.
Yeah, because you're saying it's a radio station that play. If it's called Radio Birdsong,
I don't
know what you're going to get.
You can.
But you accept. But if it's radio and it's you know that you're getting the signal coming in. But if they said it's a radio station, and actually it's a tap with water coming out, and they said it's the sound of water coming out of the tap, that is the radio station. But it's not coming through the airwaves. You actually have to buy a tap and turn it on, and you go, that's the radio station. Then to me, it's like they're lying. They're saying this pile of bricks, this unmade bread is art, and if you don't get it, you're bloody stupid.
They're not saying that's. They're not saying
but
stupid.
They are. Well,
that's that.
They're saying you don't get it. You don't get it.
No, they're not saying. No, they're not saying you don't get it. That's kind of the sort of the fundamental thing. The artists aren't saying you don't get it. If you don't get it, that's fine. That's on you. If you do, you take something from it. Whatever you take something from what you're looking at. Whatever that may be. You might take, you might take awe. You might take wonder. You might take just absolute disgust. But you take something from it. They're not saying you've got.
In that case,
they are not saying. If you don't get this, jog on, mate. They're not. No one's saying that.
Well,
the Tate Modern is free for you to go in and just enjoy and explore.
Yes, but effectively, what you've said is anything could be there. I mean, if a pile of bricks lying on the floor,
no, not anything can be there.
Well, of course it can, because
no, it can't.
No, of course it can, because you then take. If I could go in, put a hat stand in there, put a hat on it, and then. Someone could put a coat on it. Someone might come in and go, oh, didn't somebody drop some spectacles in a place? And everyone crowded around and said, oh, amazing, look at that. And they all took something from these spectacles, but somebody dropped them and left them there. And that was on the internet. And people are going, oh, but yes, it's magnetic.
There was some artwork that was I can't remember who did it. It was like detritus and like piles of rubbish, and a cleaner cleaned it away.
Yes, I've heard that, but there is a thing on that the glasses were just, somebody had left some glasses on the floor. People gathered round thinking it was artwork, and that sort of exposes the thing, because what you've said.
I know, but you're in a, isn't that kind of a weird sort of strange, almost like brain fart that people had? You're in a place, you're surrounded by artwork. You've got that mentality going on, and you see something, you go, well, that. But that's
my whole point, isn't it? If you can't distinguish one piece of art from one piece of everyday, then either nothing is art or everything is art. And then if everything is art, then art that's in the gallery is meaningless.
That's your opinion. You're entitled to it.
Oh, that's an easy get.
Well,
that's your opinion.
Of
course, it's my opinion.
It is still. I fundamentally believe it is all about the process of and the thought processes and the creation and the research that goes into making whatever it is you happen to be making. We saw, I read you Grayson Perry's process behind it through a conversation with a group of youths having a misspent life,
but doesn't
he ended up creating that.
Is it really necessary to have to know the process to whether you actually appreciate it as a piece of art or not? Because if you have to, it seems like a hell of a lot of work to have a whole load of process behind it, that when the art should surely, I would have thought, stand up for its own merit, when you bung it up and people go, that's beautiful, that's not beautiful, that's well made, I can see the talent, I can see the creative side of it.
I think you do need something. I do think you need something, even if it's a little line saying I'm
but
exploring.
David didn't need that. Go back to what you said is your benchmark. Masterpiece. David didn't need anything. You look at that and go, yes, without question, that is beautiful, brilliantly produced, wonderfully conceived. It is a human body. Okay, it's 15 foot tall, but that's it. He didn't need, oh, there's a process about it. I got the laurels came from a certain tree and his dick was a certain length, which signifies rockets into space. He didn't have a process.
But like we were saying before, when we were talking about how things evolve and how the cassette became this.
Well, they didn't hear that part of the conversation.
They didn't hear this. We're having a conversation beforehand, and we were talking about how things evolve, how the cassette became the CD became like internet wires, became Wi-Fi essentially. The way things are moved around, and you were saying about how, like, maybe in 30, 50, 100 years time we would look back and go, why were we thinking that was a good idea? So I think it's the way, like you said, the way artists moved on. It was people were just making things for making things and showing their raw talent and their raw skill. Then you get this whole sort of separate sort of industry, cottage industry comes out of that, where people are, the buying and the selling takes place, and then then artists having this, there's reasons why I've made this. Like, even songwriters, they'll write a song, but there are meanings behind it. Every word has a meaning, every line. This line is in here because of this.
Yeah, but when you hear a song, if you like it and you think that's a master, you don't need to know what the story behind it is to know whether it's a masterpiece.
I've thought about this too. I've wanted to ask, to maybe if I ever got the chance to meet someone like Adele and go, what's the meaning behind Pavements? And you go, do you not wonder that you've put all this meaning behind it, yet no one gives a hoot because it's so and like you said, in 100 years people will probably look back and go, what were we thinking?
Well, I think what we're thinking, quite simply, comes down to money. There'll be those people that are telling us what something is worth and what something is willing to buy, and other people are laughing at them and going, you are joking. A pile of bricks, I wouldn't give you tuppence. And it seems to me that the art exhibitions are places to make untalented people into millionaires, that they can go in and grab a urinal off the skip, write their name on it and say, there you go, that's a beat of art, I want £20 million.
Duchamp did that because the exhibition was we will exhibit any piece of art, and he went, all right then,
exhibit this. Yes. Well, more fool them, wasn't it? More fool the art
that
thing.
Was the catalyst. That was the catalyst that started.
And the bricks and the bed and all that untalented,
and the potted sheep in jelly and the half a shark and all those wonderful things.
Well, you see, half a shark might be quite interesting to look at. I don't know whether you would call it art or not, but there's a bit more than just shoving bricks in. I mean, it just seems incredibly lazy because they say they've got this process. They say they've got all this, and they write all this. Hang on a minute, and they say they've got all this, but the bloke and his bricks, it may be actually all that is absolute hogwash. And what happened was he was desperate. He's got this exhibition. What am I going to do? I know. I'll shove in some bricks. I'll write some rubbishy story. And he thought of it on the bus on the way there. You don't know. I mean, it doesn't really matter what the process is. If you've got to learn the process,
this is what makes the art movement, because there is no wrong answer, and maybe that's what a lot of people can't get.
Well, I think there is.
You walk in because people can go, I hate that. That is tosh bricks. Just get and the gallery go, that's fine. You feel that way, but it shouldn't be there. Wonderful. I'm so pleased you have that reaction. But get it out. We're not going to get it out, sir. It's going to.
Well, okay. I mean, there is. I don't suppose many people do that. I imagine most people just look at it and just shrug their shoulders and go, "Do you know what? Let's go down to the wherever another art gallery where there's real, the little tiny place down the road where there's a struggling artist who's actually learned his craft, or go into a shop." and buy, for heaven's sake, a placemat by Jack Victoriano and go, there's a bit of art. There's a real bit of art. You can see the bloke's got talent and he's got an idea and he's put it on there, and he's not your pompous bit of art.
People say Jack Victoriano just copies other pictures. That's a whole other thing.
Well, that's a whole other... Anyway, listen, we've run out of time. Thank you so much for watching. As ever, very much. A heated debate, which is great fun. But is it art? In my opinion, apart from David, the rest of them...
Can I say the...
Yeah, we haven't got to there, but I'll get you there.
I want to say that.
I'll get you there. So is it art? I don't think it is. David is the one that's artistic. You can see that there's merit. He spent 3 years doing it. A pile of bricks probably didn't spend 3 years. Probably didn't even spend 3 minutes doing it, to be honest with you. Apart from
5-6 minutes.
Yeah, maybe 5 or 6. He had to go down to the bricky, didn't he? But actually, he may have got them out of a skip, for all we know. And maybe somebody else had already numbered them. Because they were doing a building project in the back garden to make a barbecue. Who knows, ladies and gentlemen? Who knows? I'm so sorry I haven't been able to read your comments. I've had this technical issue here. As far as I know, we're still broadcasting. St Martha's Hill is just outside Guildford, is the thing I'm reading there. I don't know what that's about. A beer mat. Now you're at it. There we go. A beer mat. Hang on. Just get the last bit. We are going, ladies and gentlemen. I am going. I'm just getting again.
He is going. He's already gone, ladies and gentlemen.
Chocolate hobnobs. I don't know what you're talking about now. Anyway, thank you very much. Sorry I couldn't get to the things, but thank you for Jonathan for coming in, choosing the pictures. I don't call them works of art.
On the next show, abstract expressionism and futurism.
Yeah. We may not be having that show, ladies and gentlemen. But anyway, you know what's coming up now, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for watching.
When you hear this music. I've got to say it.
You got to say it. Well done. Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure.
Good fun. We're still friends, even though we may have differences of opinion. We do that on this show. We can have a good old rant, but we get out to shake hands and say, well, everyone's entitled to their opinion.
Maybe not shake hands.
Maybe not?
Maybe not shake hands.
All right, fair dues. Up to you, mate. Until the next time, I'll be back on Friday. Do tune in on Friday. God knows what I'll be talking about. I don't think the lovely Julia will be even here. She's not made an appearance all week, which is a bit...
We miss you, Julia.
We miss you so much. But
Come and say hello.
She's going to her roller disco on Friday. Unless, of course, she doesn't... Yes, unless she doesn't fancy it. So until the next time, thank you so much for watching.
Thank you very much.
Bye for now.
Ta-ra, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.